Welcome to Muddy River News This Week, furnished by Harvey's. Well, we're a little more casual today here on the show because we're talking to a guy who does some stories that make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. You want to sit by a fireplace and watch them and learn about the history of our state. Of course, I am talking to Mark McDonald with Illinois Stories. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
And it's nice to have you. I've been a big fan of the work that you and my friend Randy Phillips do. Randy, of course, helps us around here at Muddy River News. And of course, you've been doing, how long have you been doing Illinois Stories?
We're in our 18th season. Wow. 18th season, and I don't keep count exactly, but around 1,240 30-minute stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to run out of content, right?
Yeah, I'll probably die first. But no, I mean, actually, that's kind of the biggest challenge, I think, is we've done so many now. We have a formula that works for us really well. Sometimes it's hard to find that next two stories that you need to get ahead. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. But I think the nice thing is it's like, Illinois is such a big state and a diverse state. And while I know that, you mostly focus on downstate, I mean, occasionally you do go north and do a few things, I would imagine.
A few things. We try to stay in our viewing area, but our viewing area is huge.
Right.
Now that WSIU owns us now, so we're in Carbondale, Quincy, Macomb, and Springfield. We're in half the state.
And public television is something that many of us grew up with. Of course, Mark, of course, starts at WSEC and WQEC here in Quincy, of course, and then PBS and from Sesame Street all the way on up. But Illinois Stories has always been one of those programs that there's no news product that comes out of our local PBS, except if you want to consider the commentary that Capitol View or does, what have you. But I look at it as what you provide are some very nice feature stories, very much like you'd see on like a CBS Sunday morning or something like that. And I think it's that caliber of work too.
We thank you for that. But what we try to do is I think always what I feel like we've accomplished something when we've introduced our audience to people that they would want to know.
Sure.
Gee, I'd like to know that guy. He's interesting, or that woman, she's interesting. And they get 28 minutes with that person through me, which is fun for me, and I hope it's fun for them too. That's really what we try to do.
And again, I think it's the fact that it's just really great for you to jump in your car and go somewhere. And again, the small towns we have, like you said, from Quincy to Carbondale to probably Decatur and all that area in between.
You bet. And I tell you what. Those people in all those communities are just as passionate about what they do and their work and their hobbies and their children and their education and their jobs. It's something to see. It really is. I love Central Illinois. I really do.
And for doing this as long as you've done now, the technology that you and Randy all put in place to make this happen, it's changed a lot too.
Oh man! Now Randy can work with a camera this big. He doesn't have to haul all that stuff around. He can actually check very easily what's right and what's wrong just in a moment. We rarely have a technical issue. He can edit these pieces in an hour to two and have them at the station on the server so we can access them immediately. It used to be send the tapes, check the tapes, send them back. Yeah. Now it's bang bang. It's great.
Yeah, I as being someone who grew up working in the industry in the late '80s and early '90s, I know that the colleagues, when you tell stories to the kids who are doing it now in days of 3/4-inch decks and lugging them everywhere.
I remember them.
Oh my gosh! And now it's like so easy. Like you said, these cameras they're basically the size of a shoe.
I don't know if you remember or not, but the 3/4-inch deck that you put on your shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And you would push the button and go, and then
click,
you're rolling.
Click, yeah.
And you're one-man banding, and you're hauling that stuff around on a cold winter day or a hot summer's day, and that was work.
Before you went to WSEC, where did you work before?
I was at 4 different stations in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and my last one was at WICS in Springfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, so yes, working in small market television, we do have that in common where, or you're shooting sports on a Friday night, or you have to go cover a meeting or what have you.
Yeah,
Needless to say, you were going to have a tape lock up, or you're like, oh, I got to rewind this
Clogged
tape.
heads.
Yeah. And, it's not like the stations at the small markets are going to spend a lot of money on new gear. It's like, let's see what we can do to make this thing work and last
This has
forever.
been such a pleasure, because of that, Bob, this has been such a pleasure being able to do this and watching the technology evolve and working. And here's another interesting thing about Illinois Stories. Randy has been with us, even he predates me on Illinois Stories. He shot a couple before I came on board, yeah. But I also have a crew in the central part of the state. Randy shoots the western stories and they shoot the eastern stories. They are still with me the whole time. So, I mean, that never happens. That just never happens. And so what it enables us to do is really be familiar with each other. These guys know what I'm going to do before I do it, before I even think of it. And we're always kind of a step ahead. It's just really easy. It's nice.
So when you're putting one together, how do you go about deciding and somebody says, hey, I've got a great Illinois story for you, or you find it? Is it more now where you are getting story ideas fed to you, or you're having to come up with them?
No, it's about 50-50. Okay. But I'm really, like today, we were in Louisiana, Missouri doing a bottle digger. I'd never heard of bottle diggers before. But he's an older guy. He's got a collection of 1,000 bottles. He dug them all up himself since he was a Boy Scout. He's got them all. He knows the story behind every one of them, where he found it, what was in it, how he cleaned it up. But I found out about this guy from one of our viewers who he doesn't even know, but became aware of him and said, Mark, sent me an email. I think you might find this interesting. This guy's got this enormous collection. And it was a great story. And that just came from one of our viewers who just thought I should know.
And it was okay for you to cross the river from Pike, Illinois to Pike, Missouri to get that done?
We got a lot of viewers over there.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
And again, I think, it's just that whole area and the whole way where you can take a look at West Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, and this whole area now, and tell the kind of unique stories that, again, we talked about the changes in local television. Local television is really now consumed by so much of the advertising time, and then now that we've got situations like your old station being involved in where we're hubbing newscasts out of one town to try to service many more towns. The time for a young journalist to come in and do the kind of story that to dedicate, I'd like to dedicate 2 minutes to this story. It doesn't happen anymore.
No.
And you're able to give 28 minutes.
Yeah. No, we know what a gift it is to be able to spend time doing it, Now, Randy and I'll only spend 2 hours on a story, but because we pretty much edit it in the field. We shoot segments that go together, and when it's time to put it together, it's just a matter of assembling the segments, so we don't have a lot of editing to do. And we don't have a lot of time in the field. And I'll tell you, Bob, the way that works is, I've just learned this over the years, I always pre-interview people exhaustively on the phone. So I know what I'm getting into, and I know what that person's like. I know what they know. I know how to approach them. And so when we get there, we're in pretty good shape and we're ready to go. And I know that they're not going to be afraid of me. They're not going to, when the camera goes on, that they're not going to go blank. Because we know each other kind of.
That's leads to an interesting question, is the fact that, have you ever gone to a place and said, how am I going to make something out of this?
Oh yeah. And back when we were doing 3 stories every week for years.
Yeah.
And I was the only one producing, so I had to find all the stories and set up all the stories and get make sure the crew was there and everything. And there were times when I had to choose stories that just they weren't really up to our our qualities. But only a few times. But there have been times, and there were other times when I would exhaustively work on the background with this. But I remember this woman I was doing a story with, and I talked to her on the phone, and we talked, and we planned, and we plotted everything out. And when I got there, I called for Randy. I said, "Okay, Randy, let's roll." And she goes, "Oh, I can't be on television." And it took everything I had to coerce. She's all I had to coerce her into doing the story with me. But I don't know what she thought, that I was going to write the story, or but.
On the other hand, though, I bet there's been times where you've gone into places with trepidation and come out and said, wow, that ended up, that's a good story.
Yeah, that's true, too. In fact, that happens more often. Because people usually rise to the occasion because they're talking about something they like. We're not the news media where we show up and stick a microphone in your face. They're talking about things that interest them and things they like to do and, things they're passionate about. And so it's usually a good experience, not
That's
a bitter one.
very much similar to what we do on this program, is because we're trying to do it once a week now, and Muddy River News isn't quite a year old yet, but I've worked in the market long enough where I can make a phone call, or David Adam can make a phone call and say, hey, you want to come on the show? And at first they're kind of like, well, they don't want the Mike Wallace treatment, but it's like, no, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
We're not, I'm not here to expose, where did you hide the body or anything like that. We're on here to have a pleasant conversation about an issue that I think other people might find interesting. And I think that's the case is, with what you guys have been doing over the years, and again, the thousands of stories that you've told, I think people are going to look at this and go, oh yeah, I love Illinois stories. And I do. I mean, I hear a lot of people around town who've always talked about it. I was talking to a fella saying I was going to interview you today. He's like, oh, he's great. I love Illinois stories. So, and again, I think it's something that, you have created this niche. You've created this program that is so unique that nobody else can really duplicate, and I think it's because, again, it's a product of the times that you're able to say, Randy and I, and we can take the newest and best technology and still tell these quality long-form stories, whereas everybody else, it's like, okay, we've got to, go cover this meeting, boom, 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 chop, 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 chop.
Yeah.
And again, they're also trying to fill all these newscasts in a day where you can say, okay, we're going to crank out a couple shows this week, let's do this, let's do that. And I think it's just really nice that you have that ability to still do that after all these years.
Yeah, and the other nice thing is too, when you have 1,240 stories, and you can't produce 3 a week anymore, we just don't have the funding to do that right now. We have a really good digest of stories to choose from, so I can pick the ones that I like the best to fill in for reruns when we don't have fresh stories. So we have a new 30-minute program every week, and then we do two reruns a week. But when you have 1,240, you can pick good ones. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. You've built up enough of a library to where, we can you can let people, you can remind people. And again, these stories deserve more than just one airing, right?
Well, thank you.
I think they do. So, and now, are you going to make it at a point sometime where they're going to be all available, where people could watch them all at one time?
Well, we've been for about the last 6 years or so. They've all been going up on YouTube.
Good.
So there are several hundred on YouTube. We haven't put the backlog on there yet, but they are all available in a DVD library. And at some point, I know that we're going to get that all digitally, on thumb drives or some, get them available somehow. Right now they're DVD, but we're working on that. We're bare bones. We don't have a crew to do that, but we're working on it.
Most of the operation, you talked about being purchased by WSIU, is much of the operation based now out of Carbondale now?
Well, as a matter of fact, our station is still in Chatham. We've been told that it finally sold. So at the end of February, we're all going to be working out of home, and the station at Chatham will be retired. It'll be part of the school district over in Chatham School District.
Well, and it's right next door.
Yeah, Master Control is already run out of Carbondale, and so that's the plan. Yeah.
Well, what about the public affairs program?
Yeah.
got to figure that one out now.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that again, when you talk about doing the stories and again putting up something that's presentable, you've won an Emmy or two, right?
A couple Emmys, yeah. been nominated 4 times and won twice, and boy, that's fun.
It is, yeah.
That's fun. Have you been to the Emmy?
I have. When I was the news director over at WGEM, we won the small market
Super.
Emmy for that down. We went down to St. Louis.
So you get dressed up and you go down to
I
St.
did.
Louis.
I actually I think that might have been the last time I wore a tux.
Yep.
So like 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So
well, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, same to you. I mean, it's great that again, it's a wonderful, wonderful program. And again, when you're trying to do something that's quality, when the rest of the media world and when the rest of our world just seems to be rush, 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 time to make the donuts, crank out the sausage, what have you.
Yeah.
Your story is like a breath of fresh air where you can sit down and spend a half hour and go, okay, show me something, teach me something.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people, that's their 6:30. They have dinner with the Illinois stories, and that makes me very happy.
Well, again, I'd like to thank you for stopping by and seeing us today, and let's do this again sometimes. Again, I hope you get to crank out another 1,240.
Well, I hope I live that long. Thank you, Bob.
All right, it's Mark McDonald with Illinois Stories, and I'm Bob Goff for Muddy River News This Week, furnished by Harvey's. Have a great week.